I opened my inbox and froze. Nothing. No email. No invite. No hope you're well lurking at the bottom like a courtesy. Just the emptiness of digital silence. My thumb hovered over refresh, as if magic could rewrite reality. Then I saw it. A thread from my cousin Rachel. The subject line, Thanksgiving at our place, RSVP ASAP. I clicked. My stomach dropped. Photos of last year's table glared at me from the screen. Golden turkey, polished silver, laughter trapped in JPEGs. She had done it again. I was instead invited. Not a call, not a text, not even a passive-aggressive emoji. Nothing. I laughed, but it was hollow, brittle, sharp. Of course, I muttered. Of course, Rachel sips the golden child. I imagined her in the kitchen, apron spotless, serving my uncle his favorite mashed potatoes, while tossing a wink at my absence. The punchline wasn't subtle. It was carved in neon. You don't matter. I stormed to the living room. Mom was on the couch, scrolling her phone. Mom, I said, voice shaking. Did you see the invite? She looked up, confused. What invite? The family Thanksgiving. Rachel Sips hosting. I stum not on the list. Her eyes softened, a little guilt fluttering. Abdul, you know how she is. How she is? I shouted, pacing. Mom, I subbed family, I subbed Noe's family, and she just erased me. Just like that. Not a word, not a gesture, not even a thought. Mom sighed. Maybe it's Stubbs just. No. I cut her off. It's Stutz deliberate. You know it, I know it. Silence settled heavy between us. I went back to my room, slammed the door. My phone buzzed. A group chat. RSVP. Can't wait to see everyone. My chest tightened. Laughter emojis from my cousins. And Rachel, top of the chat, thumbed up like she'd just scored the winning goal. I felt small. Erased, invisible in a place where I should have belonged. And then rage. Pure, simmering, white-hot rage. I gritted my teeth. Why me? Why now? I replayed our last conversations. Every time I had shared something personal, she had brushed it off. Every accomplishment I mentioned, she had one-upped it. And this exclusion, it wasn't accident, it was personal. I leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Anger morphed into something darker, not just hurt, not just humiliation. Curiosity, a sick sort of curiosity. Why did she need to humiliate me this way? What was she afraid of? I texted a friend, fingers trembling. Did you see the invite? I'm not on it. Their reply came almost instantly. What? You? Not invited? Wow, that's harsh. I laughed bitterly. Harsh? It's Up's humiliation, public, intentional. I went to the window looking out at the quiet street. Lights twinkled in houses where families laughed and ate, oblivious. I imagined Rachel's laugh, tinkling, perfectly timed, echoing in my mind. My chest tightened, burning with injustice. Then, almost unconsciously, I smiled. Not a happy smile. A planned smile. A watch this space smile. I muttered to myself. Fine. You want a Thanksgiving without me? I still give you a Thanksgiving you shall never forget, but not the kind you are expecting. I sank into my chair, phone in hand. I scrolled through messages, emails, social media, anything I could use to see how she'd flaunt my absence. Each post, each photo, felt like fuel to a fire I didn't yet know how to control. I felt invisible, but invisible people sometimes they see everything. I clenched my fists. My heart still stung, but my mind sharpened. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to be erased. Not this time. Rachel wanted a perfect holiday, a perfect life, a perfect story without me. Well, I should write my own story. And she should be in it. I spent the next few days in quiet misery. The apartment felt hollow. Each sound, a drip of the faucet, a car outside, the fridge humming, echoed my emptiness. I stared at my phone like it held some secret message from the universe, but all I saw were Rachel's posts. Her perfect smile, the perfect table, laughter that wasn't mine. Mom knocked softly on my door. Abdul. I didn't instead answer. She pushed it open anyway. Yusep barely eaten. Are you okay? I shrugged, staring at the wall. I'm fine. She knelt in front of me, her hands brushing mine. You know she didn't mean to. Didn't mean to? I spat the words. Bitter. Mom, she meant it. You think she forgot? You think this is an accident? She erased me. On purpose. Her eyes watered. Abdul, I know it hurts. But you can settle it. Let it what? Define me. Humiliate me. Erase me. My voice cracked. Every memory I have of Thanksgiving, every smile I tried to share, it sucks like it never mattered. Mom shook her head. You matter. You always matter. I wanted to believe her. I tried. But the echo of laughter imagined and cruel replayed in my mind. I saw Rachel's apron, her perfectly set table, my family gathered around, forgetting I existed. Why am I like this? I whispered, more to myself than her. Why do I feel invisible? Mom didn't answer. She just sat there, quiet, letting me speak. Maybe she thought time would heal. Maybe she didn't know what to say. I got up and went to the mirror. My reflection stared back, unrecognizable. My eyes hollow, rimmed with sleepless nights. My jaw tense, my hair unruly. The person looking back at me didn't feel like me. Who even are you? I muttered. Are you enough? Are you too much? Too weird? Too irrelevant? The mirror didn't answer. It never does. I touched my face, tracing the lines that weren't there yesterday, or maybe I just hadn't noticed. I hated them. I hated the reflection, the self-doubt, the ache that settled in my chest like a stone. Mom Sup's voice echoed softly behind me. Abdul, you such are beautiful, don't such let her take that from you. I laughed, dry, hollow, bitter. Beautiful, that sips rich. She sips beautiful. Everyone else sees her, not me. I sip speaking nothing. I don't sip speaking meningsist at her table. I sip speaking a ghost. Mom. A ghost who remembers too much and gets forgotten anyway. She reached out, hand trembling. You are not a ghost. You are my son, and you are strong. Strong? I didn't but feel strong. I felt fractured. And yet, amidst the numbness, the melancholy, a thought crept in, quiet, dangerous, sweet. Why let her win? I closed my eyes, imagining Rachel laughing, oblivious. My chest tightened, and the dull ache in my heart twisted into something else, something sharper. What if, I whispered, almost afraid to finish the thought. What if I showed her? What if she felt a fraction of this? Mom Sep's voice trembled. Abdul Don Stet. I shook my head, cutting her off. No, Mom. I stum not crying anymore. I stum thinking, planning. I can stum stay here, curled up, letting her erase me. Not this time, not again. I sat back down, staring at my hands. Small, quiet thoughts formed, whispering in my mind. Ideas of revenge, subtle and patient. Little things that wouldn't scream my presence, but would make her notice my absence, or maybe my return. I thought about the last time I'd laughed at the table, the last time anyone had really seen me. I wanted that feeling back, but better, stronger, smarter, unseen but untouchable. I smiled, faint, almost imperceptible, not happiness, not satisfaction. Something darker, something waiting. I could almost hear it, my silent revenge taking shape. A seed planted in the fertile ground of humiliation. I leaned back in my chair, my reflection staring at me again. This time I saw a glimmer, a spark behind the hollow eyes. Anger mixed with clarity, pain transformed into focus. The reflection wasn't foreign anymore. I sense coming back, I whispered. Not to beg, not to sit quietly. I sense coming back to be noticed, to be felt, to be remembered. Mom placed a hand on my shoulder. Abdul. I nodded, but didn't look at her. My eyes were locked on the mirror, on the person I was becoming, stronger, sharper, ready. I didn't know exactly how yet. The whispers of revenge were just beginning. But I knew this: Rachel had taken my place once. And I would take it back, on my own terms. I met Alex at our usual coffee spot. The smell of roasted beans and sugar hit me like a memory of better days before Rachel, before the exclusion, before I felt erased. I swear I can even. I trailed off, slamming my hand on the table. They didn't invite me. Not a word. Not even a thought. Rachel? She Sep's hosting again. And I Sep in nothing. Alex leaned back, eyes wide. Wow. That Sep's brutal. It Step's humiliation, Alex. Public, deliberate. Steph gone through all the messages, all the photos. She wants me to feel invisible, to stay invisible. Alex shook their head. That sip's insane. I mean, family shouldn't do that. Insane doesn't even cover it. I muttered. I sipped my coffee bitter, letting the warmth hit my chest. I feel like I've been erased from their perfect little holiday. And every memory I have now, it just proves I don't belong. Alex reached across, gripping my hand. Okay. Breathe. You said her alive. You said her here. That counts for something. I laughed. Low, sharp, bitter. Counts for nothing, Alex. If it did, I said be at their table, laughing, smiling, being seen. But I not. So, maybe it's time to change the rules. Alex frowned. Change the rules. I leaned forward, eyes gleaming. If they once invite me, then I make my own Thanksgiving. Alex blinked. Your own Thanksgiving? Yes, but not some ordinary gathering, not a few friends and takeout. No, this has to sting, symbolically. Poetic justice. Alex laughed, half in disbelief. Wait, are you saying? I nodded slowly, feeling it. The spark, the thrill. I'll invite everyone they hurt. Every ex, every friend they betrayed. Every person Rachel ever made feel small or invisible. People my family ignored. People they abandoned. The ones who know what it's like to be forgotten. Alex's laugh grew louder. That's crazy. I smiled, dark and sharp. Crazy? Maybe. But brilliant. Think about it. They throw their perfect Thanksgiving, golden Rachel, perfect family, perfect turkey, and then, mine, my table. Full of ghosts they've ignored, people they've wronged, faces that will look at them and know exactly what it feels like. And I'm orchestrating it all. The invisible cousin, finally seen. Alex shook their head, trying to hide a grin. Damn, Abdul, that actually kind of genius. I felt it, the surge, power, control, the ache of exclusion turned into something raw, something almost sweet. I can see it already, I whispered, their faces when they find out. The shock, the humiliation, and me, sitting there, calm, smiling. The one who actually planned it, not forgotten, not invisible, in control. Alex leaned closer, voice low. So what's the first step? I smirked, tapping the edge of my coffee cup. First, I make the list, every name, every person they wronged, every memory I can use. Alex raised an eyebrow. That's ambitious. I nodded. Ambitious, yes, but necessary. I've been quiet too long. I've been erased too long. This year I write the story, I control the narrative. I make them feel what it's like to be left out, and not just ignored, not just hurt, but completely forgotten. Alex laughed again, shaking their head. You star wicked. I leaned back, closing my eyes, letting the thought roll over me. Wicked. Perfect. Empowering. I could almost taste it. The thrill, the anticipation, the quiet chaos I'd unleash. They still never see it coming, I said softly. Not a hint. They think I sulking in my room, invisible, meanwhile I building something unforgettable. Mine. Perfect. Daring. Cruel, if I want it to be. But most of all, mine. Alex grinned, finally on board. All right, Abdul. Let's do it. Let's make history. I laughed. Low, almost menacing. History? No. This is more than history. This is justice. Silent, sharp, delicious. I imagined the table I'd set. Not fancy china, not polished silver, but powerful. Every seat occupied by someone Rachel or my family had underestimated. Every smile and whisper a subtle dagger of recognition. Every glance a reminder that they didn't control the story this year. And me? I'd be there. Calm. Invisible no more. The architect of a Thanksgiving they'd never forget. The thrill ignited fully now, electric in my chest. I leaned forward, voice low, conspiratorial. This year, Alex, I am the storm they never saw coming. Alex chuckled, shaking their head. God, I love this plan. I smiled, letting the excitement bubble. The spark had ignited. The idea was alive. And this time, I wouldn't be the one forgotten. I spent the next few days like a ghost in my own apartment, Hunting. Hunting for the forgotten, the overlooked, the abandoned, the ones my family had hurt without a second thought. Alex perched on the edge of my couch, laptop open, sipping coffee like it was gasoline fueling a fire. All right, Abdul. Who steps first on the list? I grinned. Dark, sharp. Greg. Alex raised an eyebrow. Rachel Sepp's college boyfriend? The one she humiliated at the reunion? Yes. The one she laughed at when he spilled wine on her white dress. Publicly. I want him at my table. I want him laughing, this time at the thought that she thought she was untouchable. Alex typed quickly. Message sent. You phrased it delicately, inviting, but a hint of intrigue. Classic. I leaned back, letting the thrill wash over me. Every RSVP is a victory. Each one, a reminder that I am not invisible, that I can control something, that I can create the chaos they deserve. The next day my inbox pinged. Greg had accepted. My chest tightened with excitement, the kind that makes your pulse race and your hands shake. One by one, I found them. Emma, the aunt's ex ghosted after 5 years with no explanation. Marcus, the coworker who'd been humiliated at the family barbecue. Lindsay, the girl Rachel's best friend had manipulated into looking foolish. Alex watched as I worked, fingers flying over the keyboard. You such really relentless. I smirked. I spurrow. This isn't just a party. It's strategy. Precision. Every person I invite, a weapon. Alex blinked. Weapons? You mean psychological warfare? I laughed. Low, dark. Exactly. And it's Sup's art, my art. You see. I spent hours planning. Menus that screamed elegance but were easy to prepare. Tables arranged for maximum impact. Candles that cast shadows perfectly. Music carefully chosen, each song a subtle jab, each melody a memory only my guest would share. Alex shook their head, impressed. You you're insane, but I can argue, it's you're brilliant. I picked up a sheet of paper, scribbling names and notes. Imagine Rachel walking in, expecting her perfect little gathering, and instead, she sees Greg, smiling. Emma, laughing with Marcus. Lindsay, sharing stories she'll never forget. The smug look she wears. I want it to falter. Crack. Unravel. Alex leaned forward, voice quiet. You really going to do this, huh? I nodded, eyes alight with purpose. Not just do it. Going to own it. This apartment, this table, this Thanksgiving, it stems mine, and everyone she ever wronged. They be my allies, unwittingly, in this little coup. I imagined the night in vivid detail. Candles flickering, the table full of laughter, murmurs, knowing glances. Rachel stepping through the door, expecting perfection, and instead, chaos. Subtle, controlled chaos, orchestrated by the cousin she'd thought she could erase. Alex chuckled, nervously. You really enjoying this, huh? I smiled, a faint curve of lips that didn't reach my eyes. Enjoying? Maybe. But it more than that. It empowerment. For once I not the overlooked one. I not the punchline. I the architect. The invisible cousin. Gone. This, my masterpiece. The next invitations went out like clockwork. Each acceptance sent a jolt through me, like a tiny electric thrill. One by one, the forgotten were gathered. One by one, the balance shifted. My living room, once just a space of solitude and self-doubt, became a battlefield of strategy disguised as hospitality. Alex leaned back, eyes scanning the growing guest list. So, how many so far? I counted silently in my head. 8 confirmed, 10 likely, and there's still time for more. Alex raised an eyebrow. This is insane, but I get it. The tables are turning, and you're finally in control. I nodded, savoring the feeling. Control, that's the key. I've been invisible for too long, forgotten for too long, but not this year. This year they will remember me, and not just me, everyone I invite will remind them what it feels like to be overlooked, dismissed, humiliated. Alex leaned forward, voice low. And Rachel? I smirked. Rachel will see the truth. She see that her golden child perfection isn't untouchable, that her little kingdom has cracks. And I'll be sitting there quietly, smugly, invisible no more. The cousin she tried to erase, orchestrating a night she spell never forget. Alex laughed softly, shaking their head. You said are a little terrifying. I laughed too. Low, dark, satisfied. Maybe, but this is fun. Strategic. Empowering. ISEP never felt this alive. Every day I refined the plan. Every RSVP, every menu tweak, every table placement felt like power, like revenge in miniature. And the best part? Rachel had no clue. No idea that the forgotten cousin was quietly assembling a force of ghosts she had wronged, ready to reclaim the holiday she had stolen. I looked at the stack of invitations I had yet to send. Each envelope held a story, a tiny dagger wrapped in paper and ink. Each RSVP would be another victory. The spark from Alex's coffee shop days ago had grown into a flame. The thrill of the plan consumed me. I was no longer hurt, no longer invisible. I was orchestrating a quiet storm. And Rachel? She would feel it. And I couldn't wait. I felt it before I heard it. That prickling tension in the air, the first whispers of suspicion. It started small. A mutual friend, Maya, called me one morning. Hey, so someone mentioned a killer Thanksgiving happening this year. No family drama. Thought you might like to know. I froze mid-sip of coffee. Killer Thanksgiving? No family drama? My lips twitched almost a smile. My heart raced. Oh really? Yeah, Maya continued. Oblivious to the storm she sept ignited. I didn't have to ask who, but people were excited. Curious. Curiosity, that tiny word, like a spark. I felt the thrill ignite in my chest. A ripple in the perfect pond Rachel had thought she'd controlled. Later that day, Rachel called, sharp, tense. Abdul, have you heard anything about someone throwing Thanksgiving this year? I mean, outside the family? I kept my voice calm, casual. Outside the family? Not really. Why? Her laugh was brittle. Oh, just things people say. But you wouldn't know anything, would you? I tilted my head, pretending innocence. Nope. Haven't heard a thing. I could practically hear her teeth grinding through the phone. That edge, that suspicion, delicious. I hung up and let out a quiet laugh. Alone in my apartment, I allowed it, a low, dark sound that vibrated in my chest. She sensed it, she didn't know what, but she felt the shift. And that feeling, it was intoxicating. Alex popped in, grinning, heard about the call. I nodded, pacing. Rachel Seps asking questions. Subtle, but sharp, like she smells smoke and doesn't know the fire is already burning. Alex laughed, a little nervous. She Seps going to freak when she finds out. I felt a thrill curling in my stomach, twisting into excitement. Not just freak, flounder, crumble, realize she Seps not in control, that her kingdom has cracks. The days that followed were a delicate dance. I practiced smiles in the mirror, gracious, inviting, the perfect host, polite laughs, gentle nods, pretending ordinary, all while my mind catalogued the impending chaos, imagining each subtle jab, each stunned expression. Every phone call, every text from invitees, fueled me, looking forward to it, Greg wrote. Emma, Marcus, Lindsay, they all confirmed, each message a tiny explosion of power in my hands. I texted Alex, whispering almost conspiratorially, can you imagine Rachel walking in, expecting perfection, and seeing them, every face a mirror of her own arrogance? Alex grinned. This is getting wild. It was more than wild. It was exquisite. I felt the balance shift with each passing day. My living room, once a quiet refuge, had transformed into a stage, every plate, every candle, every glass of wine meticulously planned for maximum impact, every detail, a subtle dagger of recognition. Then came Rachel's subtle probes, questions to mutual friends, casual mentions in family group chats. Have you heard of any gatherings this year? She'd ask. And the replies were carefully neutral, nothing confirming, nothing denying. I smirked. Perfect. She could sense the tremor beneath the surface but couldn't locate it. One evening, she cornered me during a casual family Zoom call. Her voice was tight, clipped. Abdul, I heard something. Gathering. Are you involved? I smiled politely, tilting my head. A gathering. Oh, you know me. I wouldn't want to steal anyone Sep's thunder. Her eyes flicked to mine, searching, suspicion simmering just beneath the surface. Right. Of course. I let the pause stretch, letting the silence speak louder than words, then I chuckled softly. But if I were involved, I sent want it to be special, something unforgettable. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She knew, or at least she felt the storm coming. I leaned back, heart hammering, exhilaration coursing through my veins. The power wasn't in confrontation yet, it was in anticipation, the quiet knowledge that I was no longer the overlooked cousin. I was the orchestrator, the architect of a gathering that would unfold with precision, subtlety, karmically. Alex texted mid-evening. She seems suspicious, huh? I typed back. Yes. And she has no idea what's coming. Every day brought the thrill anew. Planning menus, arranging tables, lighting candles just so. Music carefully chosen, not just for ambiance but for effect, for memory, for subtle reminders of moments Rachel and my family thought they controlled. I imagined their faces when they realized who was there. Greg, Emma, Marcus, Lindsay, faces that had stories, scars, each one a mirror reflecting the arrogance, the cruelty, the thoughtlessness my family had carried for years. And me? Calm, smiling, invisible no more. Rachel's mask began to crack. I could see it in the fleeting messages, the sharp tones, the slight tremor of curiosity in her voice. The golden child so sure of her perfection, suddenly sensing the cracks in her world. I exhaled slowly, savoring the shift. The storm hadn't yet arrived, the chaos hadn't erupted, but the first tendrils were reaching her, invisible but undeniable. And I was behind it all, pulling strings, smiling politely, letting anticipation tighten in my chest. I whispered to myself, low, dark, triumphant. You think you control everything, Rachel, but this year you don't even know the game has begun. And for the first time in years, I felt the quiet, intoxicating rush of power. The overlooked cousin, gone. The orchestrator, here. The night arrived. My apartment glowed with warmth, candles flickered on the tables, soft golden light casting shadows that danced across walls lined with framed memories, memories I had curated, rewritten in my own favor. Music hummed low, smooth, just enough to stir nostalgia without drowning conversation. I adjusted the last wine glass, chest tight with anticipation. Alex hovered nearby, nervously grinning. You ready for this? I nodded, calm on the surface, heart pounding. Ready? No. Thrilled? Absolutely. Let's see how the golden child handles a little poetic justice. The first guests trickled in. Greg, smiling awkwardly but genuinely. Emma, cautious but eager. Marcus with a sly grin. Lindsay already laughing at some private joke I wasn't meant to hear. Each arrival was a small explosion of satisfaction in my chest. Each RSVP fulfilled became flesh and voice, confirming that my invisible army was real. Abdul, this place looks amazing, Emma said, her eyes scanning the room. I haven't seen anyone set a table like this in years. I smiled politely, pouring wine. Thank you. I wanted it to feel special. The room buzzed with stories, careful, subtle anecdotes of past wrongs. Greg recounted that disastrous college reunion. Marcus mentioned the barbecue humiliation. Lindsay talked about the manipulation she endured. I listened, nodding, interjecting occasionally with sympathy or laughter at just the right moment. Every story, every confession, every quiet gasp of recognition reinforced the web I had spun. Alex whispered as I handed a plate to Emma. You are doing this so well, she will never see it coming. I grinned faintly, cold. She see it soon enough. Then she arrived. Rachel, perfectly timed, coiffed, smiling, expecting praise, expecting awe, expecting the world to orbit around her perfection. Abdul, she chirped, voice sharp but friendly. I didn't expect, wow, this looks well, her words faltered. The pause, the glance around the room, that split second where the air shifted, I felt it ripple through me. Thank you, Rachel, I said smoothly, pouring another glass of wine. I wanted everyone to feel comfortable. Her eyes darted from guest to guest. Recognition, confusion, alarm, she knew these faces. They were her victims, her history of cruelty visible now, alive and laughing in my space. She straightened, a forced smile plastered on. So, everyone knows each other? I shrugged lightly. Serene. Some do, some don't. But they all have stories. shared experiences, memories that matter. Her smile wavered. Stories, right? Well, it's Stets. Nice of you to host. I tilted my head, the faintest smile on my lips. I wanted it to be memorable for everyone. She faltered again, eyes narrowing, scanning, calculating, subtle accusations hidden in her tone. And, how did everyone end up here? This isn't set, usual. I leaned against the counter, calm, composed. Funny how paths cross. Isn't set it. Sometimes people you thought were forgotten turn out to be exactly who you need at the table. She blinked, mouth opening, closing, searching for a retort. I watched her as the stories flowed. Emma's laughter as she recounted years of silence from my aunt. Greg's smirk as he shared his own humiliation. Marcus rolling his eyes at old family drama. Each word, each anecdote was a brick in the wall I had built around her confidence. Rachel Sepp's hands fidgeted, wineglass twisting in her fingers. Abdul, I didn't set no. I mean how. Why? I interrupted gently, pouring another glass. Sometimes, Rachel, people need to remember what they Sepp done, and sometimes I get to make sure they do. She froze, eyes flicking to me, searching for the calm composure I maintained. A slight flush rose to her cheeks. I poured the wine slowly, savoring the moment. Alex leaned closer, whispering, "She sips unraveling." I smirked faintly. Good, let her. This isn't Sept about confrontation. It's Sept about subtle revelation. Let her see, hear, and feel her own actions reflected back. Rachel Sepp's voice grew sharper, defensive. So, all of you really went through all that, and you set her here. Each nod, each confirmation, each hesitant smile from my guests reinforced the point. She had misjudged her power. The perfect image she maintained was cracking, bit by bit. I moved among them, laughing politely, pouring drinks, adjusting chairs. My calm, gracious host act was flawless. Behind my smile, my glee thrummed like electricity. Every word she spoke, every pause, every uncertain glance she cast, exquisite. Alex whispered again, quieter. This is insane. She Seps noticing. I nodded, savoring the tension. She Seps noticing, and yet she doesn't set know what she Seps missing. She doesn't set know she Seps lost control. I poured myself a glass, glanced at Rachel as she tried to mask her panic with a smile. I raised my glass slightly, to no one in particular. To memories, I said softly. To stories, and to the people who make them unforgettable. The clink of glasses resonated, not just sound but affirmation. My power, subtle and undeniable, filled the room. I wasn't the overlooked cousin anymore. I was the orchestrator, the quiet architect of a gathering that spoke louder than words, exposing hypocrisy, cruelty, and the arrogance of perfection. Rachel's mask had cracks now, small but visible, and I was content, hidden behind my smile, watching the storm I had created unfold beautifully, karmically. Every story, every laugh, every look of recognition was a victory, a subtle, sweet, cinematic triumph. And I let it linger. Because tonight I was no longer invisible. I was the storm. The room was alive with stories. Laughter bubbled around me, warm and charged, carrying memories I had curated like weapons. I moved among my guests, glass in hand, smiling politely, while every word that escaped their lips landed perfectly. Greg, recounting the wine-spilling disaster at Rachel's college reunion. Emma, gently mocking my aunt's thoughtless ghosting. Marcus, rolling his eyes at family antics that left him humiliated. Lindsay, laughing at the subtle manipulations that had gone unnoticed for years. Rachel Sepp's eyes flicked from face to face, her smile tight, brittle. Abdul, what is all this? I poured her wine slowly, deliberately. Just a gathering, I said smoothly. People sharing stories, memories, things worth remembering. Her voice rose, sharp now, defensive. Memories, you invited them? All of them? I tilted my head, calm, serene, only the ones who mattered. She blinked, searching my face, trying to find weakness. She wanted control, she wanted dominance. But it wasn't there, not tonight. Greg laughed, finishing a story about Rachel Sepp's dramatic theatrics. And she laughed at me. In front of everyone, can you believe that? Rachel Sepp's lips pressed together. Greg, that was exactly what she thought she could erase, I said softly, letting the words hang. but stories, they have a way of coming back. The room shifted, subtle glances passed, nods of agreement, small murmurs of recognition, each one a quiet victory. I watched Rachel's composure falter, her confidence wavered. Her golden child mask, so polished, was cracking. She tried again, voice sharper, trembling slightly. Abdul, I don't understand. Why would you host this? I smiled, cold but gracious. Maybe I wanted everyone to be seen, to feel what it seps like when their stories matter. Her hand fidgeted around her wine glass. But, it stuts just, I don't stut. Just? I leaned closer, voice gentle, almost conspiratorial. Just? These people thought they were invisible. Forgotten, dismissed, and tonight, they supper remembered, all because someone finally listened. She swallowed, eyes darting. I could see the panic in the smallest movements, shoulders stiff, jaw tight, eyes flicking for allies, but she had none. The tide had turned. Emma laughed softly. You know, I never thought I set feel heard at a family gathering. Lindsay chimed in. Yeah, it set is nice, different, truthful. Marcus nodded. Even if a little nerve-wracking for some of us, he smirked at Rachel. You might find yourself on the receiving end for once. Rachel Sepp's lips parted. She tried to interrupt, tried to regain control. No, that Sepp's not Abdul. This isn't Sept. I raised a hand slightly, polite but firm. Rachel, tonight isn't Sept about control. It Sep's about truth, and truth has its own rhythm. Sometimes it Sep's loud, sometimes it Sep's quiet, but it always speaks. Her shoulders slumped slightly, the first crack in the armor. I noticed it, inwardly savoring the realization settling in. She had underestimated me. The ignored cousin, the one she thought invisible. My mother Sep's voice joined the mix from across the room. Soft but firm. Abdul, you Sep done something remarkable here. I nodded, polite. Thank you, Mom. I think everyone needed a seat at the table. Everyone deserves to be heard. Rachel Sep's eyes flicked between my mother and me. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. I didn't realize. I didn't set. I let her pause. Let her feel it. The room, the attention, the memories, the subtle reminders of her missteps. Every anecdote told, every laugh shared, every small confession, a reflection of her own past cruelty. Alex leaned in, whispering softly. She's Sep's unraveling. I smiled faintly. Good, let her. This isn't Sep's punishment. Not really, just revelation. Elegantly served. Rachel's mask fully faltered when Emma recounted the quiet afternoons she spent waiting for my aunt's attention, never receiving it. Greg's story about public humiliation made her flush. Marcus's account of barbecue embarrassment sent a ripple through her composure. Lindsay's tale of manipulation and whispered betrayals finished the crackling crescendo. Her eyes welled slightly, voice small, uncertain. I didn't no. I never realized. I thought I was doing the right thing. I met her gaze, calm. Sometimes, Rachel, thinking you separ right isn't separo enough. Actions speak. Stories remain, and tonight they separ speaking louder than anything you could have said. She sank slightly into her chair, deflated, quiet, the golden child. Perfect. Untouchable. All illusions stripped bare. I moved past her, serving wine to another guest, listening, smiling internally. No glee, just cold, quiet satisfaction. Truth had been delivered with elegance, precision. Humiliation wasn't loud or cruel, it was inevitable. Alex whispered, almost in awe, that was beautiful. I nodded. It stops the quiet ones that cut the deepest. Truth, served at the right moment. It doesn't need shouting. Rachel's gaze lingered on me, recognition dawning. She understood now. Underestimated. Ignored, overlooked, invisible once, and yet tonight, the pivot point, she saw it. And I let her see. Because the masks had fallen, and the quiet satisfaction of justice, precise and subtle, coursed through me. Tonight, I wasn't invisible. I was seen, and the storm I had built had arrived. The laughter had faded, leaving only murmurs, clinking glasses, and the soft hum of music. The room felt lighter now, memories settling like dust after a storm. Rachel appeared at my side, her posture stiff, eyes glossy. She wasn't the golden child anymore. Not tonight. Vulnerability peeked through the cracks of her arrogance. Abdul, Why did you do this? Her voice trembled, quiet but sharp, demanding the answer she already feared. I set the wine glass down slowly, hands steady. I did it because I needed you to see, because I needed them to see. For years I watched, silently, waiting, excluded, forgotten, mocked. She flinched slightly. I didn't stet. You didn't stet what? I cut in gently, firm but calm. Include me, protect me, respect me, or even notice what you were doing to others. Her lips pressed into a thin line, silence stretching. I could see the shame simmering beneath her skin, mingling with confusion. For years I let it slide, I continued, voice low, deliberate. I swallowed humiliation, replayed old stories in my head, wondering if it was me, if I was too much, too loud, too irrelevant. But I wasn't invisible. You made me feel that way. And tonight, I paused, letting my words land. Heavy, tonight you saw it all reflected back. Tears slipped from her eyes. I didn't step closer. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. My quiet authority filled the space. You orchestrated this, she whispered. All of this for me to feel. For you to understand, I said softly. For everyone to understand, that actions have weight, that words leave scars, that silence can hurt as much as cruelty. Her hands shook slightly, and I realized she was vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before, untethered from pride, stripped bare by her own history. I didn't realize, she stammered. I never thought. You never thought because you never stopped to listen, I replied, steady, calm. You assumed control, assumed perfection, assumed people wouldn't set notice. But they did. And I did. And tonight, we all did. My mother hovered nearby, silent, observing. Pride and fear flickered across her face. Pride because I had finally spoken, fear because she knew the truth stung like a blade. Rachel Sepp's voice cracked. I never meant to. You didn't have to mean it, I said, soft but firm. The impact was real regardless. And silence is sometimes louder than words. Her gaze dropped. I saw the weight of years pressing down on her shoulders, the arrogance gone, replaced by something heavier, shame, reflection, understanding. You actually listened to everyone? She asked quietly, voice barely audible. I did, I said, and I made sure their voices mattered. For once I didn't stay invisible. I didn't let it slide. I took the moment you never gave me, and I used it to be seen. Her hands covered her face, trembling. I didn't know it hurt you so much. It did, I admitted, my voice low. It hurt more than you still ever know, but it also taught me something, that quiet power, patience, and truth, they speak louder than arrogance ever could. She lowered her hands slowly, meeting my gaze. The vulnerability remained, but now paired with recognition. I was cruel. I see that now. Yes, I said simply. No triumph, no mockery, just fact, stated calmly, firmly. You were, and it's not about punishment. It's about understanding, about facing what you done, and learning from it. Tonight, I didn't fight to be recognized. I earned it. Rachel Sepp's shoulders slumped completely. I underestimated you, the ignored cousin. I nodded. You did. And now maybe you still notice what you ignore in the future. My mother stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder. I'm proud of you, she said softly. Fear still lingered in her eyes, but pride was undeniable. You stood your ground. I smiled faintly, the weight of years lifting just slightly. I didn't fight for recognition tonight, I said, quiet, almost to myself. I fought to be heard, and I was. Rachel Sepp's eyes met mine one last time, stripped of arrogance, softened by reflection. I'm sorry, Abdul. Truly. I know, I said, calm, measured. And that's all I needed to hear. Recognition isn't about words, it's about truth. Tonight the truth spoke for itself. She nodded, silent now, shame and understanding mingling in her posture. My mother's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I took a deep breath, feeling the catharsis settle deep into my chest. Quiet authority, earned not by anger or shouting but by patience, strategy, and the subtle force of truth. For once I didn't need to fight for acknowledgement. I didn't need to demand attention. I had earned it. Quietly, indelibly. And the room, still warm with laughter and shared stories, hummed with the quiet power of that truth. Tonight, the ignored cousin was seen, and that was enough. The last guest left just past midnight. The door clicked behind Alex as he waved goodbye, and silence fell over the apartment like a soft, heavy blanket. I sank into the couch, glass of wine still warm in my hand, and exhaled slowly. The hum of music had faded, leaving only the echoes of laughter, conversations, and confessions that had filled the night. Every story, every quiet revelation, every subtle glance of realization from Rachel, it all lingered in the air, tangible, like smoke from a fire that had burned just enough to leave warmth without destruction. Alex slouched next to me, grinning. You did it. You actually did it. I've never seen a family unravel so beautifully. I chuckled softly, not out of pride, but release. Beautifully? Maybe. But more than that, I finally feel right. Complete. He leaned back, eyes scanning the mess of empty wine glasses, napkins, and soft candlelight. And Rachel? I took a deep breath. Her eyes flashed in my memory, regret, understanding, disbelief, that mix of humiliation and realization. She saw everything tonight, I said quietly. All the wrongs, all the damage, and for the first time, she realized she misjudged me, that I wasn't the ignored cousin, that I could be unstoppable. Alex smiled knowingly. Unstoppable, huh? I like that. I let the words sit with me. Unstoppable. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about reclaiming my story, my space, my life. For years I had let others define me, my family, my cousin, even my own doubts. Tonight that ended. I looked around the room. Candles burned low, their flicker a reminder of time passing, moments that couldn't be repeated. The table still held traces of the feast, plates with crumbs, wine glasses half empty, remnants of shared stories and shared triumphs. Every detail, intentional. Every choice, a testament to patience and strategy. Alex nudged me. So what now? I smiled faintly, feeling the weight of the night lift. Now, I live. On my terms. I reclaimed what was taken. I exposed hypocrisy without needing to fight with anger. I shown that quiet strength can be more powerful than noise. He raised an eyebrow. Poetic justice, then. I laughed softly. Exactly. Poetic and precise. But the real victory is peace. Knowing I didn't need chaos to feel powerful. I just needed truth. And now, I have it. I stood and walked to the window. The city lights spilling in like scattered stars. The world outside hadn't changed. But I had. Tonight wasn't about them anymore. It was about me. Every slight, every insult, every exclusion I had endured, it fueled me. Not bitterness. Not anger. But clarity. Purpose. Power. Alex came up behind me. Quieter now. You were different. Stronger. I nodded, letting the silence stretch, savoring the moment. I am. And it feels good. Better than good. Right. We stood there, side by side, the apartment empty except for our presence, and the lingering energy of stories shared and lessons learned. I thought of Rachel again. Her eyes had told me everything. Regret, understanding, acknowledgement. She would never see me the same way again. And I didn't need her to. I didn't need validation from anyone but myself. Alex smirked, finally breaking the quiet. You scepter glowing, you know that. I let out a soft laugh. Maybe I am. Or maybe I sept just free of expectation, free of judgment, free of invisibility. He grinned. So, does this mean your Thanksgiving empire continues next year? I shook my head, smiling. No. This wasn't set about an empire. It was about rising from what I thought was my limitation, from the ashes of being overlooked, underestimated, erased. Tonight, I reclaimed that power, and that's enough. Alex looked impressed, silent for a moment. You make it sound like a story people will tell for years. I smiled softly, letting the weight of the night settle into my bones. Maybe they will. Or maybe it's just mine to remember. And that's the point. Stories matter. Actions matter. And sometimes, you don't need anyone to see the storm you survived. Just knowing you survived, it is enough. The apartment fell completely silent. I could hear the faint hum of the city below, the wind brushing past the windows. The night had ended. The storm had passed. And I remained bruised, yes, but unbroken. I sank back into the couch, letting the quiet wash over me, power reclaimed, hypocrisy exposed, my narrative restored. And as I gazed at the fading candlelight, I smiled, not with vengeance, not with triumph over others, but with the quiet satisfaction of one who had been ignored, underestimated, and overlooked, and had risen. Risen from the ashes. Finally truly free.